Hello everyone, Dimitri here, and this video is going to be my last Epoch First Impressions video. The game is fully released now, it's been out for about a week and a half. There's been early access before this as well, of course, but I wanted to wait until the full game released before playing it. So let's get to it. Now, to get to the question that most of you are going to be asking first of all, is the game worth it? And the answer? Yeah, I think so. The game currently feels very good to play. It's very smooth and, most importantly, fun. It is a nice mixture between Diablo and Path of Exile, I think, and it strikes a good balance for newer players looking to get into ARPGs. There is more customization than Diablo, but without the suffocating complexity of PoE for newer players into the ARPG genre. Seasonal launches will also keep adding more stuff into the game for even the more experienced veteran players. So there's definitely like stuff to come back to every few months. Definitely worth the money, I would say. Now for some more in-depth impressions of the game, I want to start off with the customization of Last Epoch. When I started, I wanted to play an Ice Mage. I had no idea what's good and what wasn't good. I went in completely blind, and I just tried some things out. One of the first things I noticed that I wasn't really punished for swapping skills around and trying out new things, and that felt great, honestly. I could try out new skills to my heart's content. There were lots of passive options that looked really cool, and one of the highlights for the customization option for skills, for me at least, were the conversion nodes on a lot of skills. A lot of skills had these innate conversion nodes in their skill trees that would, for example, change Lightning Blast to now be a blast of cold. It would change Flame Ward to now instead be Frost Ward, and all of its bonuses would change to cold. And plenty of other passives like that. There were also plenty of mechanical changes about how skills interact and how they work when you change their functionality. A lot of that stuff felt really good to play with and mess around with. And I also wasn't really punished for trying out new things either. If I wanted to change one of my passive points, I would simply unspec it and then level up a bit, get the XP back, and then move it somewhere else. If I wanted to focus on a completely new skill, I wouldn't lose all of my progress, as the game had this like minimum level passive point system, where as your level went higher, the amount of minimum skill points you would have in a new skill would increase over time. And that felt really good. So I think overall, when I was going through the campaign, I probably tried out like 15 to 20 different skills, just messing around with things, trying out different things in the passive tree, until I found something that I personally really liked. To lean into that, I found a lot of unique items throughout the campaign that also seem to mechanically change the way that some skills perform, and that is something that I really personally missed, for example, in Diablo 4. Being able to customize your character in the way that you want to is a core defining aspect of an ARPG for me, and Last Epoch so far ranks pretty highly up there. I felt that with every choice that I was making, I had a lot of options in how I wanted my character to perform, what I wanted it to do, and I didn't feel really constrained in only playing the skill in one single way, and that felt good. And to go along with that was the next thing that I want to talk about, the crafting system. This was definitely one of the highlights for Last Epoch for me. The crafting with affix shards feels great, even early on in the game. Pieces that are good but not perfect can be harvested for shards, or you can try to upgrade and reroll them to try and make something really great for your character. I also really enjoyed being able to craft my own gear almost right from the start. Having that level of agency early on felt really good throughout the campaign. I encountered a zone with lots of fire enemies. Well, let me make a piece with lots of fire resistance. I come across a zone with lots of undead. Well, it's time to get some necrotic resistance upgrades. Being able to have that level of agency and impact in decision making, I would say, about what I am trying to do and how I'm trying to like survive through an ARPG felt really good. I did not have to wait to get a lucky piece of gear with the resistances that I needed. I could find some scraps here and there, some shards here and there, and simply make my own piece of gear that had the resistances that I needed, that had the stats that I needed. My build was very mana hungry, and being able to craft a mana regen and all the other mana bonuses pretty much on most pieces of my gear felt really good. So I'd managed to craft some good pieces of gear, the skill customization was good to go, and so I went through the story. I took my time, reading a lot of dialogue, doing all the side quests that I could find, and just in general messing around a lot with new skills and other things. and progress through it. I think it took me about 25 hours to get through the entire thing. I could have gone through it a lot faster, and I think most people will get through it quite a bit faster, but as I said, I wanted to take my time. Now, sadly, the campaign is where things fall off a bit. The story in its current state is unfinished, and for a full release of a game, I would have hoped that they would have had a finished story to go along with it. Sadly, that's not the case. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to see how the story ends up going. The story itself also is not really that great. It is not offensively bad. I did not struggle to get through the story, but there's nothing really to keep you hooked either. I thought the time travel aspect of the story was fun, and exploring regions like that is a cool way to do it, and there's definitely some potential there. But overall, I don't think it was that amazing. The bosses felt a bit underwhelming until at least the last few acts, where the quality definitely seemed to improve a bit. The dialogue was not that great. The story itself was kind of predictable at times. There was just a bit left to desire in there. However, the last 2-3 acts did seem to up the quality a good bit, and I'm hopeful that the last few acts and the way that the story will finish at least will improve some of that. However, as it stands for now, the campaign is something that I would definitely take my time to get through at least once, just so you have an idea of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the story, who these characters are, but nothing really that I would say is like an amazing thing either. Now, after the campaign comes the endgame, of course, and the endgame system for Last Epoch is the monolith system. I've not had too much time to delve into this yet, sadly, as the game was plagued with quite a bit of server issues, though most of them seem to have been resolved, thankfully, but it made my progression through the game take quite a bit longer than I had hoped, at the very least. In the monolith system, you basically pick a map from an adjacent tile with the rewards that you'd like, and then you enter the map and clear the mission it assigns you. As you keep progressing, you'll be able to do these special mini quest missions inside of these monoliths, which are like alternate timelines with lots of what ifs, and with boss fights at the end of them that really feel fun to fight. The bosses for these quest lines are well designed, and honestly, I enjoyed going through a lot of these monolith timelines as they came through. If you then manage to beat all of the timelines, and you will start progressing into empowered monoliths, which are harder versions of these maps that scale, as far as I can tell, indefinitely, though I'm not 100% sure on that one. However, they create this really nice challenge for your characters to go through. To beat them, you will also need better gear, of course, and in the end game, you will start finding pieces of gear with exalted affixes, which are higher tiered versions that you can only drop from enemies. You can then use these exalted rare items to create some really powerful items as you use them as bases to then craft around them and create just really good items for your build. You can also combine these exalted rare items with the unique items that you can find if they possess legendary potential, allowing you to merge those affixes onto the unique items. And it is a very cool system that makes uniques a lot more fun to use, since you don't have to give up as many stats in favor of the cool unique effects that a lot of unique items tend to have. Combined with all of this, and there is actually quite a bit of playtime in the endgame for you to do, as you will basically be progressing through the monoliths, clearing out the timelines, finding exalted pieces of gear, using them to craft even better pieces of gear for your character, which you will then use to blast through more monoliths and eventually into the empowered monolith system. In general, I think the state of endgame currently is in a good state where things feel fun, there's a good foundation, and there's already a good crafting system and gearing system in place, and I really would like to see where this goes over time. Last Epoch is planning on releasing seasonally, so every couple of months there will be a new season with hopefully some new pieces of content to explore, and I think if they keep up with that and manage to go along the route of PoE with the expansions that they release, there could be some really fun endgame potential in this game. It is already pretty good and pretty fun, and with more stuff added in over time, I hope that it becomes just a really, really good game overall in the end. So, to recap, overall, I think the game feels very good to play. The gameplay feels fun and smooth, and especially just feeling fun is very important in an ARPG. It plays pretty much like an upgraded and improved Diablo 4. There's a lot more customization, there's a lot more unique skills and skill interactions, and much more interesting items. It is also not too overwhelming, like Path of Exile, so it is a good entry point into the ARPG genre for people looking to get into it. If you were disappointed with Diablo's Force launch like I was, then I think Last Epoch will fill that Diablo-shaped gap in your heart quite nicely. I also think that the seasonal launches every couple of months will hopefully add more endgame to basically a game with great foundations and give you reasons to keep coming back. However, only time will tell on that one though. For now, definitely has my seal of approval, and if you're interested in it, I would suggest buy it. Anyway, thank you for watching this first impressions video. Let me know what you think about it and what you think about Last Epoch. And until next time, peace.